Good morning. Ira Epstein of Linn Associates with your morning flash update for this Friday, July 12th, 2019. We're just after 9:10 a.m. Central Daylight Time. You know, it's the morning after. It was a rough week, 2 days of speeches by Fed Chair Powell. As you'll see, economic data has been picking up a little bit of momentum, but the market's not buying into it in terms of that the Fed's really going to care. The market seems to have taken the position now that the Fed chair is giving the voice to the Fed, that the Fed wants to be proactive, wants to move ahead of the curve, and will probably, I can only use the word probably, move ahead with a rate hike on a rate decline on July 31st. Okay, stock market up on that news. Pretty stable metals here. Copper, I was a little surprised it was even up today. Can't quite figure that one out, but we'll get to that in a minute. The dollar a bit lower. A very mixed bag in the currency market, and that's not a surprise to me as traders are trying to digest what's going on. You can see that the notes in the bond market are both down a fraction, which means yields have held on to the gain that they put on, and part of that has to do with the Fed trying to change the inverted yield curve that we have and get it back into more of a norm. I think that's part of their overall goal. You have to be looking at the energy markets and asking yourself, what is the damage of hurricane? And that's what I guess they're going to call it, Hurricane Barry, moving in now in the Louisiana area. We know that much of the oil has been shut in. We know at this point, at least, that even if it doesn't make hurricane strength, it's a serious tropical storm, but it's a big rain event. It's more of a rain event than a wind event, and we have to see what the damage is going to be from that. As for yesterday's WASDE reports in the grains, nobody buys the corn acreage. That's what you've got to understand. Traders have already blown away the idea that corn acreage from 2019 planting is larger than 2018. Just look around still the country and you can see all the flooding that is going on. There's prevent acres that went out there. There's lost acres in low-lying areas with all that water. So the question is, what do they think? And we're going to know more in August from that. That's how I'll be viewing that, at least looking at it. Let's take a look at the data today. First off, you start off with U.S. Labor Secretary Acosta announcing the heat's too much. He's resigning his position. So the Jeffrey Epstein scandal, and no, I am not related in any manner that I know of to Jeffrey Epstein, taking its toll on another person. The U.S. PPI came in hot. Your number was up a tenth. They expected it flat. The PPI ex food and the energy up 0.3. They expected up 0.2. June personal consumption up 0.2. So if the Fed were truly data dependent, you have to ask yourself, you know, we're seeing a couple of numbers that have just come out that were better than market expectation. China General Administration of Customs today reported that exports fell 1.3% in June from a year earlier. Imports fell 7.3%. The net effect of all that is they got a $50.8 billion trade surplus versus I think they expected $42 billion. That's my mistake. I don't have a 2 there. When we come over, and let's get to the next part of this if I could, Turkey today, taking first delivery, and this was confirmed with Russia as well, the first part of the new missile system. That's going to test the relationship with the U.S., which may well slap sanctions back on them. And of course, their position in NATO, I don't know what this is going to do. This is not good for that situation. Colombia, which is the world's third largest coffee producer, announced the creation of a stabilization fund since farmers aren't making any money there. The problem is, you know, you can't artificially put floors on markets and think they're going to hold. What really changes pricing and all that is supply demand. I hate to say it, it's the way it works. North Korean leader has formally now been named the head of the state of North Korea and commander-in-chief. It doesn't change any of his power, but it might be something getting it ready for the possibility of a formal treaty signing that could come sooner rather than later this year between the U.S. and North Korea. So you look at all this, interesting day. At this point, many traders, and I'm watching it on morning TV, just thinking the only play left in town is stocks, and they're buying them and you can see that continuing to go on in the marketplace. There'll be bumps along the road, there always is, but that seems to be the game plan. Now, one of the ways that I look at these markets, especially on Fridays, is I pay a lot of attention to pivot points. It depends if you're an in and out trader. For those of you that aren't, forget this. This is not you. For those of you that are looking for entry, exit points throughout the trading day, you know, you got these fabulous now micro stock indices. I don't know if you're aware of them, but they're 1/10 the size of the regular S&P, NASDAQ, Russell, and the Dow. Commissions as low as $1 a side with us. Cheap way to play the market. And if you're a day trader and using the pivot point entry and exit and using momentum, well, between the commission that's low, between 1/10 the size of the margin and then day trade margins, it gets very interesting, and these contracts are probably the newest, most successful product I've ever seen come out of the Merc, and I've been with the Merc one way or the other since 1969, that's 50 years, so it's a lot for me to say. In any case, if you'd like to find out more about all this, just give us a call. My staff will work with you. www.iraepstein.com. You can go to our website, read all about our products. I'm Ira Epstein. You have a good weekend. I'll see you at the end of the day with our end of the day weekend edition of our videos. Take care now.